I'm planning. I want to talk wrestling here instead of canary. Sure, whatever you want to talk about, but don't talk about it.
Baby, I'm hot like the prodigal son.
So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Wrestling News Pro podcast, the podcast for WWE fans. Here are your hosts, Michael Huff and Anthony Savino, who the least bit, they just love the act. Let's get to Rumble!
Welcome to Heel Talk Radio, presented by WrestlingNewsPro.com. That's right. Mike Hoff has joined us as the third man of Heel Talk Radio. He is the creator behind Wrestling News Pro, who has now brought in Heel Talk Radio, and we have now formed three-man alliance. We are now like the new faction of wrestling podcasts.
That's right. We're the new three-man band, right?
That's right. 3MB ain't got nothing on
better
us.
than that.
If we're gonna be 3MB, I'm Heath. That's just obvious.
I can go with Drew McIntyre.
Jeez, I get gender by default because I'm the last one to talk. All right.
That's what happens when you don't jump out in front.
That's fair enough.
But anyway, the only way we could start the show this week is to talk about the big news in wrestling this week, and that is that Daniel Bryan has been officially cleared for in-ring action by WWE. He made the announcement. The announcement came during the day on Tuesday. Daniel Bryan addressed it at the beginning of SmackDown with a passionate speech, if you want to call it that. And then we actually got to see Daniel Bryan in a little bit of action there at the end of SmackDown, as kind of expected. He got jumped by Owens and Sami after he fired them, and fought back. We got to see, we almost saw the yes kicks. We got to see the flying kicks in the corner, that kind of thing. And then we even saw Bryan take a rather big bump on the apron. So what were your guys' initial thoughts at the news and then what we saw on Tuesday night?
I'm not surprised, as you know, Dan, from shows in the past, that Daniel Bryan's finally returning. I thought it was inevitable. And I know the argument was always, Daniel Bryan, if he returns, he's going to be elsewhere. But I just never thought that was the case, because if WWE or if an independent doctor is willing to clear him, and if he's willing to put himself in risk, again, why wouldn't the WWE doctors just clear him and sign an injury waiver at that point?
Well,
this was inevitable.
The one caveat is that after every match that Bryan participates in, he will have to undergo impact and neuro testing. That is the one thing that they did put in.
Yeah, it felt good. If nothing else, it felt good to watch Daniel Bryan go from corner to corner there with those kicks. I mean, yeah, I think with every bump he takes, everybody's going to kind of step back and kind of hold their breath. But, but it's great that he's back in there. And this leads to a bevy of feuds. And I think it's needless to say that the next superstar shakeup that they do, Daniel Bryan's going to go right to Raw. That much is probably clear. They're not. I don't
think so.
No,
I think he's gonna stay.
I don't know about that.
I think they need him on SmackDown. They need him more than Raw does.
Well, they need him, but that doesn't mean that they'll keep him there. WWE has shown that in the past. I think they've got a cash cow in Daniel Bryan, and they intend to listen. That's the whole thing, is the fact that Daniel Bryan had said, basically, listen, if you guys don't clear me at some point, once my contract ends, I'm gonna go. They saw the money they saw the money to be made. I mean, I think one of you said that in our group chat, was that they already have an extension worked out for Bryan.
I was going to say, Bryan's supposed to sign a new 3-year deal. But since you guys are so excited about the return of Daniel Bryan, let me be the conspiracy theorist here. And let me tell you how this happened. Because, the news breaks Tuesday, which, first of all, let me throw this out to you guys. I was surprised that the news broke officially by WWE during the day Tuesday? Would it not have been bigger and even better to have Daniel Bryan just break it on the show?
No, because I think that gets butts in the seats to actually tune in and watch SmackDown. If he just surprised everybody would be like, "Oh my God, we missed it."
You know, you can look at it 2 ways. You could even make the case where I might have let Bryan return at WrestleMania if you want the biggest pop. But how are the ticket sales? Is WrestleMania sold out?
I have no idea, to be honest.
I believe at this point,
do they need the bump in ratings in SmackDown? That could be why they're doing it now.
That's what I think it is.
All right, let me get back to my conspiracy.
Sure.
For 2 months, basically, if you listen to Daniel Bryan's speech, for 2 months, WWE's had him going to doctors. They've basically known for 2 months that he was going to be cleared, but they didn't do it until now.
Yeah.
And what else was interesting was that a few hours before the WWE announcement that he had been officially cleared, Daniel Bryan himself put out a tweet focused at the Ring of Honor champion, saying, "You've held the championship for something like 468 days. That makes me put my sights on you. I'll see you on this date," which happened to coincide with when his contract expired. Right. I think that was a direct shot at WWE, and WWE was boxed into a corner because they know if they don't clear him, he's going to leave. And with the storyline they set up, they didn't really have any other options. Me and Anthony had talked about last week the idea that had been floated out of Vince being involved, which wasn't a great idea anyway, but there weren't really a whole lot of options that fit. WWE was backed into a corner. They didn't have any other choice, so they basically put it as, we're going to clear you, you can do what you want, and then to kind of cover our own butts, these are the circumstances we're going to put in. But WWE's known this for a while. Okay, they tried to play chicken. They tried to do the, you stay GM, we'll pay you full-timer money. He didn't buy that. They even offered him the match a few weeks ago just with the idea that he was going to stay on the apron and not take any bumps, and he balked at that. They tried everything they could to have him involved without wrestling. He didn't bite, and they got forced into a corner, and finally they blinked.
Yeah, I would definitely buy into the sentiment that they've known for longer than they've let on that he was going to be cleared, that he was good to go. And yeah, I think that was always Bryan's bargaining chip. That was like I just said, was that Bryan probably said to them, "Listen, if you guys don't clear me by X date, I'm going to New Japan. I'm going here. I'm going there." And yeah, I'm sure that tweet forced their hand. Absolutely forced their hand into a business decision. But you know what? I think it's the business decision that'll be for the best for them. To be quite honest, and you know what? If he's got to get tested after every match, who cares? I mean, if it's for the enjoyment of the fans, whatever. I'm just happy to have him back. To be quite honest, I think it opens up a whole line of potential matches for him for sure.
You know what I was curious about before we get back into the idea of, okay, well, where does Daniel Bryan go from here? Had he not been cleared and had he basically let the contract expire and essentially become a free agent, so to speak, would he have been a bigger free agent than what Jericho is right now? I mean, we saw what Jericho and Omega did at New Japan, and we see, how Jericho kind of gets himself involved here and there and the buzz that creates. But Daniel Bryan basically essentially being on an open market where he could have bounced from Ring of Honor and done stuff with the Young Bucks or New Japan and Omega and whatever. Like, would he have been bigger than Jericho?
Absolutely. You don't think so? Jericho's on the back end of his career,
but he still creates all the buzz.
Yeah, he creates all the buzz, but there's this. I'm sorry, Anthony, but there's an untapped buzz as far as Bryan being on the shelf for 2 years. There's an untapped buzz there. So the moment he's ready to go, it's, oh my God, this opens it up, rather than it's Jericho that, yes, he wrestles. We can just give him a call. This is Daniel Bryan. We can unleash him. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say, Jericho and Bryan are two very different draws. Jericho, you pay to see Chris Jericho, and you're going to see a show he puts on, along with, really, really good wrestling skills. Daniel Bryan, you're going to see him work a really, really good match. That's what you're going. That's the difference in the draws between those two. So, yeah, I think Daniel Bryan, just for that, he's new, he's fresh. Like what Mike's saying, it could be either of those two things.
All right, so let's fast forward. Obviously, at some point, we're going to get the official confirmation that we're going to get a tag match, him and Shane versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. However they want to do it, whether KO and Sami got to go to Raw, and then we do it. But however they're going to work
want to see that match?
What, the tag match?
Yeah. Does anybody want to see Shane?
I think Shane's always a draw in a sense.
Yeah.
But here's why this
bump.
Here's why this works, though. And I get that from in a grand scheme, like, no, it might not be the ideal situation, but here's why it's good. First of all, Daniel Bryan hasn't wrestled in, 3 years? He's going to have ring rust. So he can kind of shake off that rust and not have all the pressure on him that he would in a singles match. And also, if WWE is concerned with him taking big bumps, especially early on, Shane is there to do the big bumps because that's what Shane does.
Right. It kind of eases Bryan into it, yeah.
So for a return, is it the ideal situation? No, right. But is it the safe play? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, fast forwarding past that, once we get clear of that, what do you guys want as the first feud for Daniel Bryan? Because to me, you've already got it built in. It's laying there waiting for you, and it's been waiting for you.
That has to be Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan going to get some Miz. That's what I would think.
Yeah. Since that Talking Smack, it's been sitting there laying and waiting. And you can do so many different things with that. You can have the one-on-one match. You can even
bring
Brie. Yeah, you can bring in Brie and Maurice once Maurice has the kid.
Right.
Because she's supposed to have the kid right around WrestleMania.
That's doing, yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways they can go with that. And, for as bad as everybody, I think, thought that match was going to be, what Miz and Maurice did to do the build-up with the Cena and Nikki match, that match overall was pretty decent, especially with the build-up involved.
Right. I think, and you know what? This is me being selfish because we're all guys, on the East Coast. I'm hoping that they build that Bryan and Miz feud for a WrestleMania, for next year's WrestleMania. Since it's in Jersey, it'll be right there for us. So go ahead to. But I'm just saying, imagine the video package. We can do this show
from the parking lot and then go into the events.
But I'm saying the video package, you could have that go all the way back to the NXT days, back before NXT was cool, back when it was, hold this keg over your head and run around the ring 3 times and then do a cartwheel and then tap the button. Like, that's how long ago this was. And I think you could build, and even into, of course, the Talking Smack that's like the pinnacle of the feud, really. But yeah, you have so much to build on there. But yeah, that's the beauty of Daniel Bryan being as good as he is in the ring. Feuds are endless. AJ Styles. I
was going to say, the list can go on. I say the list can go. Well, here's the thing: the list can go on and on and on. Like we said, the Miz storyline's already built in. I don't know. Mike wants them to slow fuse that for a year. I don't know if that's possible.
It's not going to happen. That's wishful thinking.
But here's my question, and even a concern to some point. Anthony brought up Nakamura, who more than likely is going to be champion after WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to put Daniel Bryan in that top, championship level area. I'm concerned that Daniel Bryan is going to be that, almost what the Miz is right now, that high-level mid-card guy. I mean, think about how hard Daniel Bryan had to work up to be the main eventer his first go-around.
But he still has that aura. He still has that status. He doesn't need to build back up. He already has that bond with the crowd.
With the crowd, but not with Vince.
But I think if there's one thing that's been clear with Vince since the days of, I don't even know, since the early 90s, it's money sells, and Daniel Bryan's going to make money, and he sees that, and the fans are in love with him. So I think there's no need to bury him in that mid card. The fans are going to show their discontent right away, and Vince is going to feel compelled to put him in the main event anyway. I'm not saying necessarily you have him go for the championship. He's not going to necessarily go after the champion, but you're going to put him in some top-notch feuds. Like, let's say Nakamura feuds with somebody else instead of AJ Styles after WrestleMania. Let's say they only do a one and done. You could do AJ Styles against Daniel Bryan. You can do like a feud like that where it's not for the belt, but it's a marquee match. That's a big match. That's a match people will look forward to more so than the title match. I think that's more so what you look. I don't think he's going to be in any kind of mid-card status. He's almost going to be like a Brock Lesnar with a better attendance record. Pretty much is what I see it as.
You think that? I don't know.
I'm saying not to the point where like maybe he shows up, maybe he doesn't. He'll be on every week, but every time he wrestles, it's going to be something special. That's what it's going to be with Daniel Bryan because the fans love him.
Listen, I'm all for. I think Daniel Bryan's going to explode upon his return, but I want to sidetrack off of what Dan mentioned or you mentioned in this conversation about the whole idea of bringing Maurice back and Brie Bella back and a potential feud. And right now they have the co-ed tag tournament going on, right?
Right, mixed tag, yeah. Mixed tag
Don't get me started on this, Anthony.
Do you guys think that they should or will make this permanent and make titles and make this a permanent division?
No.
Really?
Here's the thing.
I actually like it.
Well, that's the problem. They've got this thing that's kind of caught on, and they actually have better storylines in this mixed match challenge than they do on the actual shows, and they don't translate over. And here, they built up this Braun Alexa thing, which almost kind of topples over this past week. And what did they do? They lost. It's done.
Yeah,
we don't see any of that on Raw.
That mixed match challenge was more of a way for them to just try and
social media. It was really for Facebook Live, but I enjoy, I liked it. And I know Dan's
well, that's the point is to get you to come back to social media.
When they put Rude when he went in on the save a few weeks back on Charlotte, I absolutely loved it.
Well,
I thought that point. They're both second generation. Their parents, their fathers had almost like a very similar gimmick. They had the robes. It just makes sense, and I want to see more of it.
Well, that's my point. If they were crossing over from Mixed Match Challenge into seeing things like the Rude save for Charlotte, if we were seeing things on Raw and on SmackDown that crossed over, it would work better. The fact that it rarely crossed over, like the Rude Charlotte save is the only thing that's crossed over. They haven't done anything to show any connection. And then, like I said, the best thing they had going was this whole thing with Braun and Alexa. And is there something there? Is Alexa using him? What is it? And now they're done. We're not going to know.
Well, again, I think the whole point of this mixed match challenge was more so not so much to say, well, maybe this is something that we can integrate into our every week storylines. I think this was more something to just say, let's see if we could do something appealing that will, do something that will appeal to the fans that, now we can gauge our possibly programming on social media and how they could work. And then they threw that at you. I don't think they had any intention of integrating that mixed match challenge onto weekly.
Yeah, it was a pure
smash and grab job.
It was to see what kind of reaction they'd get on Facebook. How would the watch views be each week? Right. And the problem is exactly what you said. They had no plan. They didn't think this out. They started having these things going, and they had no way to tie it in. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's wonderful. It's WWE creative at its finest. Okay. So I brought up the concerns about Daniel Bryan being a mid-carder, and you guys saying the obvious things. Fans love him. He makes money.
Debunked it.
There'll be no worries. So now let me flip to somebody who's in a similar situation. Finn Balor. Finn Balor, Universal Champion, the very first Universal Champion, held that for about 24 hours and then had to let it go because he got hurt.
And
ever since then, since he's come back, he's been kind of struggling to get in. Now he's going to be involved in this triple threat match. But then we hear about this crazy idea that Stephanie McMahon has about wanting Finn Balor, mind you, the Demon King, the guy who comes with the pain and supposed to be fierce and aggressive and all this, to play an empowered gay. Now, calm down, people, before you go yelling at me and smashing your computers or whatever you're listening on. Triple H shot this down. It's not close to happening. but I just want to know where this comes from.
Well,
okay, like they have.
Wasn't Goldust supposed to be?
Well, that was a that was. Listen,
They have. Here's the thing: they've had, and they currently have wrestlers that have been openly gay, and they could do this easily.
Right.
So why are they going for somebody who clearly isn't? Like everybody knows that he's dating what Kathy Kelly or whatever her name is.
Oh yeah,
or Caruso or whatever her name is.
Yeah. No, that's my exact point. Is I think that I get the idea where you want to try and take someone who, take someone who's homosexual and try and promote them and try and make them a big build and a big buy. I get that. But I think that if you're trying to engage that homosexual community, I think you would do that better if it was, like you just said, they've had people on the roster who are in fact gay.
Yeah,
I think that would work better than saying, hey, listen, we're going to, wrestling's fake, but we're going to build this guy up and say that he's gay, but he's not gay. But he's going to fight for you guys. Like, I don't think they'll buy into that. Like, that's not going to work. It's not like the women's movement where, yes, they're yes, they're women, but
well, that's
women,
that's my point. They had Darren Young that whole time, who was openly came out in the locker room, never used him. They currently have Sonya Deville, who is openly gay, isn't hiding that. They're not pushing that. So why are you forcing this?
Right. Why not just push that? Right. Exactly.
It makes no sense.
You have it right in front of you. Well, but listen, I think that in wrestling, especially in the past, there's probably been 1,000,001 storyline ideas that have been brought up in the past that have probably never even come out to guys like us, that have been shot down at the boardroom table. Right. I just think this is one of them that's in a long line of those moves. It's just not a smart move. I don't.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked they're not giving it a shot. Considering Bastion Booger and all.
Crickets.
You know what? Since we're talking about the women real quick,
bad
let me bring
idea.
this.
Bastion Booger was a terrible gimmick. If they let that run through, come on.
I don't think anybody was arguing with you there.
Was that duct tape?
It's possible.
Yeah. Anyway, about the women.
Facebook page, the Wrestling Elite. I've been putting up posts there to try and get feedback on different things, which we're going to talk about in the show. One of which was part of basically the women's revolution, so to speak. We've had this build up with Sasha and Bayley here for the past few weeks or even months. That's not even going to be on the WrestleMania card.
That's their own fault.
And what I did was I posed the question, like, we've had this, it's not going to be on the card. They're probably going to be in this women's battle royal that may or may not happen. And I said, are you disappointed that it's not going to be on the card? And I was surprised at the responses I got, because most of the responses I got were, no, there's too much women's wrestling on the card already. We're tired. Like, I was stunned. I thought this was like a movement, and I got no support whatsoever for this match.
I am thoroughly disappointed about that. I mean, I had heard that a lot of it, them being relegated to the Battle Royal, is due in large part to them being combative as far as with the with the creative team there, as far as how their feud is being built up. So now they ultimately shot themselves in the foot, and now they'll be delegated to that Battle Royal. Yeah, I think you had an opportunity there. Listen, it's always easy to make a women's match because there's a title involved. Like, oh, it's the women's match because there's a title involved. You had the opportunity to make a one-on-one match between two women, no mixed tag, no nothing, no mixed tag challenge, two women. You had the opportunity to do that, and it just sucks. And I thought the storyline could have been built up so much better, and now it's just like that was nauseating on Raw with them going back and forth about how you hurt my feelings and you don't understand how I feel. I just,
they regress. It reminds you of the Divas.
Yeah,
before the Revolution.
Here's the thing: if Mike, if what you said is true, that they've basically pushed back at how this has gotten built up, and that's why, then by all means, I don't blame them because creative doesn't do anything right. So by all means,
that was by the way, that was by pwpix.net was where I saw that report.
Here's my problem with this. Sasha, even though she's kind of played heel, babyface back and forth, she's a natural heel. Yeah. That's kind of how you've built, and that's how this was getting built up. But the talk was always, we're going to turn Bayley heel. That doesn't work. Bayley's whole character isn't heelish. So how are you suddenly going to take hugger and wacky waving inflatable arm guy into, I'm going to stab you in the back, girl? It doesn't work.
She needs to be repackaged.
Right.
Like Emma.
Right. I think
that worked out wonderfully.
Right, but Emma, I think she kind of fell off on herself. Bayley, I think if she works with they just need to repackage her.
Yeah, I think the whole idea to turn Bayley heel,
it would be like Natty, because Natty's a terrible heel. That's what it would be.
Yeah, it's just rough. It probably came from the whole idea that it got to a point where people were very excited that Bayley showed up. They couldn't. They were so pumped that she was there, and then all of a sudden she got stale really fast. And I think maybe that this was a move by WWE to say, and again, we already basically mentioned this, and I'm going to mention it again. This was potentially a move by WWE where they didn't exactly completely think it through and said, well, if they're not accepting of her, why don't we just make her heel? That'll work. But meanwhile, you have a phenomenal heel, like you just said, in Sasha Banks. I mean, she's ready-made, and she could be a top female heel. You just have to let her go,
Here's the problem, and we're seeing it happen more times than not, is that we're getting these call-ups from NXT, and I'm not talking about mid-card guys in NXT either. I'm talking about men and women who have carried NXT. Finn carried, Samoa Joe carried, Sasha carried, Bayley carried. I can go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. And a majority of which, you have a couple that have kind of found their spot, but a majority of which get lost in the shuffle. Ty Dillinger, what is he doing? He's a notch above a jobber.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do enough with the NXT call-ups.
Here's the issue with some of these NXT call-ups. The gimmicks, they work in NXT. Teams like the Vaudevillains, teams like that who were pretty good, they don't work up here. Bayley, you cannot take the whole hugger thing seriously. I cannot take her character serious to be a main eventer on an up-and-coming women's card. I can't do it. Not when you have Charlotte Flair. Not when you have Ronda Rousey. You can't put I'm a hugger up on the top.
I don't agree with that. I think there's enough, especially for what they're trying to do with the women as far as,
Look at Fandango. They let him beat Jericho at WrestleMania, and he's basically a notch above a jobber with the other one.
It was a fantastic match, by the way, if you go back and watch that. And that's Tyler Breeze, by the way.
You cannot take a selfie stick seriously. He's Rick the Model Martel. He's Rick Martel with the arrogance. Only the arrogance is a selfie stick. You cannot take it serious.
Yeah, the Fashion Police are a wonderful tag team, and I will not have you talk badly about them.
Thank you. You are officially outnumbered, Anthony. Sorry, Anthony.
I think they're a fine tag team, but you're not going to take them serious as single cards. You're not. They're an act.
You know what? By the way, speaking of tag teams,
but I think that works
SmackDown tag teams.
Daily, but go on.
Speaking about SmackDown tag teams, me and Anthony have been having this argument for the past couple of weeks. I was having the argument that now that we're pushing the Bludgeon Brothers into this title conversation, could I finally have them wrestle somebody? Because before that they hadn't wrestled anybody. So now the WWE's response to that is we're going to keep having them fight half of people. Here's half of the New Day. Here's half of the Usos. This isn't what I was asking for.
Well, I think that's ultimately a.
Can you see them with Braun again?
I think that's a pathetically slow burn to WrestleMania to build up. I think we're obviously looking at yet another triple threat between the Bludgeon Brothers. Well, what I was going to say, and I get that because you've been seeing that a lot on social media. But I think that's also a way of WWE saying, how can we try and fit as much talent on the card without some stupid gimmick match to throw 30 guys in one match?
I totally get that. They're trying to maximize the talent that they have. But you're diluting it at the same time. It's counterproductive.
You want to know the perfect opponent for the Bludgeon?
What's that?
The perfect opponent for the Bludgeon Brothers, and I think you might have said it last week, War Machine. Once they go through NXT, to me that's like Demolition and Powers of Pain. I'm going to be in heaven for that.
Anthony, I told you, and people on the Facebook page agree. people want to see Authors of Pain as the ones that come and get them. But I've got a better one for you, Anthony, and one that, because you always love coming up with these weird mixes, I got one for you. Okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. Clash of Champions is the one that where we usually get like Raw and SmackDown fighting each other, correct? Yes, or am I would say I'm right about that? Or am I thinking of something else?
What, Clash of Champions?
When they combine the brands.
Raw, SmackDown champions against each other? I'm thinking about something else.
Well, I mean, they've been doing that with Survivor Series. They've been putting champs. But I thought they did it
with one other one.
Clash of Champions was also another one.
Well, anyway, here's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say the Bludgeon Brothers get the SmackDown titles. Okay. And let's say they stick with this idea that Braun's going to go solo with the Bar.
He's not done.
And Braun wins by himself. Bludgeon Brothers versus Braun. Boom. Screw combining them. Have Braun go at his old mates. Because here's the thing. Braun's grown so big, he's past them. He can't join up with them again.
No,
This isn't going to happen, mind you.
Right.
But since Anthony loves to come up with these weird concoctions, I beat him to the punch on that one.
Well, but they made sure Braun said it 37,000 times during his 2-second promo on Raw that he said that he has to find himself a tag team partner. It's gonna be either Elias or it's gonna be.
God, no.
Hey, listen, you're not gonna make friends. You're not gonna make any friends over here hating on Elias. This isn't Elias.
No. I walk with Elias. Don't get me wrong. I like Elias, but him and Braun don't work. You can't have me watching him destroy Elias for 3 weeks and now all of a sudden they're partners.
Wait a minute. Just to backtrack on that, you're talking about they would go up against the same team that had a best of 7 series that beat each other up for months, and now they're one of the best 8 teams in the company. I
get that. That was a little different.
The whole entrance, I think. No, I agree. It's a little different. A little different. I agree. They kind of built it to be that way, but I think that whole thing could work. You could have Elias out there in the ring, get ready to sing a song, and instead of being interrupted by his opponent, he's interrupted by his own tag team partner. You have that gimmick that gets the fans to buy in, and then they're your face.
What about Cass returning? Because I don't know if Cass.
I love it. He's ready.
I don't know. Yeah, I know he's cleared.
Yeah,
I don't know if Cass is ready to be a singles guy. Like that little run that he did with Enzo was
why not let Braun just do this at handicap style at WrestleMania and take the titles that way?
That's what I'm fine with.
But then they find some kind of a rule saying you must have a partner, and then he acquires a partner on the Monday night after WrestleMania, and that's going to be a big pop. That is a realistic thing that could happen. You let Braun win him at Mania, and then maybe Cass comes back the next day.
Yeah, but they've already said they've said multiple times on the program that he has to find a partner.
Yeah, but I was gonna say it would be easy for him to go against that. I mean, Braun has not listened, several occasions. So, and apparently it's not completely off the table that they're not going to let him go solo yet. So that's still there.
One question I have, because I know
as long as it's not the Big Show.
I know Anthony's no, not that. On to a different match. I know Anthony's got some thoughts on this, so might as well bring this up to the surface. What's going on with John Cena and the Undertaker?
All right. I'll let Anthony start.
Yeah,
I'll let Anthony start his crusade before I kill him.
Yeah, let's let Anthony go first, and then we'll be like sharks to the Good.
Well, for as long as I can remember talking this same subject, I've been saying that Kane, he's running for mayor, and if he wins, he obviously is going to retire. The Undertaker was last year his last match. They're hanging this over our heads, and I've always put the Brothers of Destruction back together. It makes all the sense in the world to let them retire together. And what better than this WrestleMania? I don't know how they're going to work it all together with John Cena and The Undertaker and Kane. I don't know how they're going to do this, but I can see both of them walking out together.
Are you done? Can I kill you now?
You can kill all you want, but it's set up. It's there.
Dan, you can go, Dan, and then I'll follow you up, Dan.
Okay. Well, all right. First off, before I go and kill Anthony, let me say this. The John Cena promos on The Undertaker, Edge called them corny. Can I just call them horrible? Like, we're going to start shooting at The Undertaker's, like, integrity and all that. Like, stop.
But John Cena, let me tell you, there were some electric promos. I will say that.
It didn't work for me. It doesn't work. Not with The Undertaker.
I'm all in.
Well, you buy easy.
All right.
All right. So now let's get to your Brothers of Destruction thing. First of all, this match with The Undertaker is not even going to be made official until the Raw right before WrestleMania, the go-home show. So they need something to string this along.
Okay.
Kane, obviously, is the piece that ties this together. However, that's the only thing that's getting tied together because this will string along for a couple of weeks to get to that go-home show, and then Kane's going to break off. There's no Brothers of Destruction reunion here. There's no, handicap, triple threat, whatever concoction.
How about an interference in the match?
That could happen on the go-home show. That could happen on the go-home show, but again, how many weeks are we going to get a Cena Kane if that's the lead up to that?
I think, and you guys can fact check this if you want. I think it's already been said that Cena's going to fight Kane on next week's Raw.
They announced it that night.
Right, that's been established. So I think that's your opportunity for The Undertaker to finally come out. But he's not. To me, like this.
No, I was talking about
sucks on multiple levels. First things first, you can't do the Brothers of Destruction. I'm sorry. I understand Kane's running for governor, but he comes out, or mayor, or whatever the hell he's running for. He comes out and he comes out after John Cena gives this. Anthony, you call it electric. I call it stage 5 clinger, where he's basically begging The Undertaker to wrestle him. Please wrestle me. Please answer me. And by the way, you talk about my favorite part was John Cena the week before called Undertaker an egomaniac. Meanwhile, John Cena comes out the next week and goes on for 10 minutes about how he's insulted. He's insulted that The Undertaker won't answer him. So,
hey, Mike, real quick,
egomaniac? Just saying.
Real quick, I'm not trying to cut you off, but real quick, Cena is Mr. Never Give Up, and here he's just sounding desperate.
No shit, he's never give up. He won't stop. He's annoying. Yeah, exactly.
Because I think they're going to turn him heel.
Oh, stop!
Listen, that will never happen. But that will be the only way. That will be the only way that I will buy into.
If Hogan turns, Cena's going to eventually turn. It's going to happen.
Anthony, we had this whole argument last week about why and how Cena will never turn.
Just like Daniel Bryan would never wrestle in WWE again.
I told you had a better chance at Daniel Bryan than you do with Cena turning heel. And even 2 days after we did the show, I told you Daniel Bryan was a realistic option at that point. So don't give me that.
So anyway, this whole thing. There's a couple things that bother me about this. One, it's you want to build it up to be this icon versus icon match. Now, listen, I've been to an icon versus icon match before. I was at WrestleMania 18 when it was Hogan versus Rock. That was icon versus icon. There was no guy begging and pleading, practically on his hands and knees, sobbing, begging for a match. That match just came together. This match is not just coming together. He's having to pull The Undertaker out of bed, and The Undertaker's going to show up 2 weeks before, maybe a week before. The only thing I'm hoping here is that, and I understand the clock is ticking, I hope this is not The Undertaker's last WrestleMania match because the build-up to this has been absolutely awful. You guys can say what you want about Roman Reigns, and I don't say you guys, I mean you guys. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on Roman Reigns, but the community out there can say what they want about Roman Reigns, but the build-up to last year's WrestleMania match with The Undertaker was far and away better than what we're getting right now. Agree or disagree?
Oh, totally agree. And here's the thing. Me and Anthony for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
Okay.
We had said if you want to start the build-up for this, have Undertaker get involved somehow. Screw Cena out of that match, and that at least starts this. Yep. I had even said you want to go traditional, you want to go throwback, have him come up through the ring, go old school Taker. Let's get something rolling like that.
That's what he did against Shawn Michaels before WrestleMania 26.
Yes. You could have done a bevy of things that night. They didn't. And like you said, even with this Kane thing, another opportunity to at least start to build something here. And yet we're not going to get that either because it's already been stated, in people that know that Undertaker is not going to, that match isn't going to be made official until the go-home show. So this is going to be a slow burn. Think about this. The Cena Rock match, okay? You don't want to call that icon versus icon. You don't have to.
They leak things on WWE internet for reasons you never know. They also made it seem like Ronda Rousey wasn't going to make her debut. That she was shooting a movie that day before.
Yeah, but this wasn't a WWE link, what I'm talking about. But just hear me out on this. Rock Cena. This was when Rock was off in Hollywood 364 out of 365 days. Okay, and yeah, he was on Raw here and there for that build-up, but that was mostly a back and forth that wasn't on the show much. And that build-up is a billion times better than this build-up. I have no juice in this match other than the fact that it's Undertaker. Nothing. They haven't sold it one bit.
But they don't need to.
Let me ask you guys something.
They don't need to. It's the Undertaker.
I'm sorry, nostalgia doesn't carry me like it carries you. I'd like something of substance.
You can't send him off this. And while
Undertaker began his career as a big draw, he's going to end his career as a big draw.
This is one hell of a goddamn swan song, if you ask me. But all right, let me ask you guys something, okay? So, because we're going on and on about this, we're beating this like a dead horse. Ronda Rousey hasn't been on TV for a couple of weeks. I know during the Ultimate Deletion, which we will, I guess, get to in a little bit. During the Ultimate Deletion, she was out there with Dana Brooke. She did a little, whatever. The whole point of this is the whole point of this is my question is the build up to the Ronda Rousey thing hasn't been that great since Triple H was on television. Then you have this whole thing with Undertaker Cena. What match? And Dan, I'll ask you first. What match do you think should go on last at WrestleMania? Which, by the way, quick shameless plug. There's an article on WrestlingNewsPro.com that will give you some choices. But yeah, what's your pick?
I would probably have Styles Nakamura main event. That's the dream match that people have clamored for a while. It's finally happening. Unfortunately, at the moment, Styles is hurt, and they've done a good job at covering that up, like you saw last week on SmackDown, where he didn't wrestle. He kind of acted like he was going to get it. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He acted like he was going to save Nakamura and didn't. Another way to save him from doing anything. They've done a good job of covering that up and trying to get him as healthy as he can before Mania. But that, to me, that's your no-brainer main event. That's what the fans have clamored for, and it's a championship match, and it's logical. WWE doesn't do logical things, but it's logical.
Yeah, I like. I'm with you guys with the Nakamura Styles, but I think what we're either going to get Cena Undertaker or we're going to get Lesnar.
You know what? I don't think
that's what we're going to get.
I will say this though. I will say this: the build up to the whole Roman and Brock thing has been much better than when they wrestled back in WrestleMania 31. The build up to me has been much better. I'll say that much.
And people can complain about, Brock's not on it. They've used it perfectly.
Yes.
They've used it perfectly. And I'm not sure that what they're trying to do to help Roman is necessarily helping, but the build-up's still working.
I got a question. And how many years in a row is Roman Reigns headlining a WrestleMania?
Oh, what are we at now? 3, 4?
Is this coming from the John Cena truther, or
are they trying to spark a new streak of sorts? Is this the beginning of some kind of a streak?
You mean with Roman?
Yes. And main eventing WrestleManias?
Oh, and just main eventing? Sure, I guess.
I was going to say, I don't know if anybody really cares about that streak. Because
they're trying to get him over so bad. Look what it did for The Undertaker. I feel like this is like their last gasp as far as getting him over. Like the way that they've built this storyline and constructed this whole thing. This is Vince's last. Like, if I can't get him over with this, I don't know what the hell. I don't know how else I'm going to get him over. I mean,
here, hold on. I got an idea. I got an idea for Roman, by the way. But real quick, Anthony, you were saying if it's not Nakamura style, we should probably get Roman and Brock or Cena Undertaker.
Yes.
You left the match out there.
What? Rousey?
No, not Rousey, because they're not going to put her. She's not ready for the main event, and they're not going to put her in the main event. She'll main event next year's WrestleMania.
Yes.
No, Daniel Bryan, the return of Daniel Bryan, that's in play for a main event. I know it's a tag match, but it's in play. We talked about, you guys have told me he makes money. It's the return. You don't have to do much for build-up. We want to see Daniel Bryan. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility they could shove that in the main event.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility, but I still say no.
Is that tag team match sanctioned yet?
Well, they haven't officially announced it yet.
I would say they're not going to announce it yet,
They haven't officially
Is there
announced
any connection that, is there any way they throw Daniel Bryan into the Nakamura AJ Styles match?
No.
You don't see that possibility?
That's what we call. Anthony, I would love that, but I think that's what they call wishful thinking. I think what you're reaching for on that one. SummerSlam, yes, or maybe next year's WrestleMania, yes. That's what I want. Which, by the way, and then I'm sorry, I'll let you get back to everything else.
Go ahead.
Give me a fatal 4-way next year's WrestleMania again, because it'll be in New Jersey and I'll be able to attend because I'm going to go. You're
going to add Finn Balor
no matter what. Give me Finn Balor. Give me AJ Styles.
I knew you were going.
All four of them. Give me all four.
I knew you were going.
All four of them.
Anthony, you might like you might like this idea for Roman. Roman goes heel.
I wish.
And lines up with the whatever you want to call him now, the Authority. Give him the Seth Rollins thing from a few years ago. Listen, you're not getting Roman over as a babyface. And this whole thing with Brock is basically, I'm the guy who's here every day, like it or not. This is what I do, blah, 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 blah. So basically, when he beats Brock, it's an FU to everybody. You're not getting him over any other way, so why not feed into what's already coming?
Yeah.
I just had an idea, but go ahead, Anthony.
I have an idea too.
Everybody's got ideas.
Well, we all got ideas. That's why we're podcasting, but go ahead, Anthony.
Well, my idea is on a different spectrum. How difficult would it be? This is off subject. This is how difficult would it be to turn Shane McMahon heel?
I don't think it would be difficult, but I don't know if people are going to buy in. Like, what does Shane heel get you?
Right. All right. I have a thought.
If you want to put SmackDown on the map, you turn Shane and Cena an alliance, almost like the old Vince alliance.
Oh, again with the Cena heel. Yeah. All right, just stop. Mike, go ahead.
I have a thought. Then once I'm done with my thought, I'll let you guys discuss it. I'm going to take out my headphones and go get some Jameson. So I'll just going to say this and go. One of the best WrestleManias in my mind, and I think you guys might agree, WrestleMania 17, when it was in Houston, way back when. What if you do a scenario? We've had Vince on TV. Vince has been somewhat in this storyline, limited because of his age, of course, not to the degree that he was back then in those days. What if you have an instance which you basically said, Dan, you talked about the potential of turning Roman heel. What if you have that sort of thing where, just like Stone Cold went heel, decided to align with Vince McMahon, what if you get that Vince McMahon for just one night and you get Roman Reigns to turn heel, screw over Brock Lesnar, because the prevailing thought is that this is it for Brock. Screw over Brock, win the WWE Championship, and then you have that authority kind of thing that you basically just said, but instead of doing it with Stephanie and Triple H, you're doing it with Vince McMahon.
I think with Vince, you buy into it a hell of a lot more.
Right.
Because there's the connection, like you said, like we've seen it with Austin and things like that. Right. Like I said, I'm saying do it that way because they've shoved Roman down everybody's throats now for 3-4 years. And, despite what everybody knows is coming, that Brock's on the way out and Roman's going to get the title, nobody, what everybody's pushing back against, embrace what you're getting and run with that. Yeah. Find a way to use it.
I'm saying, but isn't it? But that's a good way to use it, right?
No, I like
that way. I like that.
It won't happen. That's a pipe dream too, but that's
let me ask this, since we're talking about Roman. Roman wins the title. And okay, so now it's who is he going to feud with afterwards? We have the answer to that, but let me throw out a couple of things that I thought were a little more logical that aren't happening. First of all, there is no secret. Bobby Lashley is returning. Ugh. Some are saying it could be the night of WrestleMania. It's more likely the Raw after WrestleMania. Nevertheless, Bobby Lashley is returning, which is getting a huge reaction. People are overwhelmingly positive to the return of Bobby Lashley, which kind of caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie.
Am I the only guy who's not happy about that?
It does nothing for me.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. Originally, the idea for Lashley was to return on the Raw after WrestleMania. He was going to confront Brock Lesnar, basically take out Brock, and that was going to be the way to write off Brock. Brock will not be on the Raw after WrestleMania now. WrestleMania is his last appearance. So right. I thought if you were going to have him go after Brock, why not have him why not have him confront Roman? That is off the table. The other one that I thought was logical, and I don't know if the timetable works here, but Ambrose has to be coming around as far as returning here. We always like our Shield situations. Okay, the reunion went nowhere because nobody could ever stay healthy. Ambrose was supposed to turn heel anyway. You just do it instead of trying to lead up to it. That would have been another logical thing. Yet, the direction that we're going, which people are hating, by the way, not so much because of who it is, but because they assume Roman gets over and therefore this guy is going to get buried, is the return of Samoa Joe is going to be the feud for Roman Reigns. So like I said, people here on the Wrestling Elite page are not fond of this because they're like, great, now Roman buries Joe. Joe gets to put over Roman. Congratulations. Like, what do we care? Like I said, I like Joe. I like that he's at least in the title picture, but, with no shot of him getting over, probably, I think there are better options.
So you think about his first feud. Who should his first feud be against? Honestly, and this may be the unpopular choice, but I don't care. And this will also kind of conflict with. Listen, I think the Miz was already ready to be in the title picture. I just think Brock Lesnar kind of complicates things because people don't realistically think. It's funny to me. People don't realistically think that the Miz could fight Brock Lesnar, yet he took away the Intercontinental Championship from Roman Reigns. I think the Miz could possibly be a guy who could take the title off him. Finally get the Miz has worked his ass off since from the Raw after WrestleMania 32. Miz has been on a stratospheric just rise, and it has not. It's been unwavering. So maybe that's the kind of guy. I mean, that could be he is the top. Arguably, he's the top heel in the company.
Absolutely, we share a brain on the Miz.
That would help your slow fuse to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania next year.
Amen.
There you go. All right, let's talk about Ultimate Deletion because we can't go through this without talking about it. Now, Mike, were you aware of the Broken Hardy character from TNA before any of this? I don't know what you were coming into this with.
No, I as much as I'm a WWE guy through and throughout, I do my homework and my due diligence.
Okay, so you were fully aware of the character and everything that came with it.
So I knew what all this meant. I knew the whole Hardy compound.
Okay,
what that meant.
All right. Well, I asked that because Anthony came into this with no idea. Anthony came into this with a fresh mind, didn't know anything about Senor Benjamin or the Lake of Reincarnation, nothing. Okay, so Anthony was the newbie here, coming in and learning all this, and I'll let Anthony give all his feedback here in a second. But here was my overwhelming issue with this. For you and me, Mike, who knew the character and knew everybody and everything surrounding it, we could follow the match and take the match for what it was because we knew what everything was.
Still awkward,
if you're Anthony and you know nothing, did that match really help you learn anything?
No, it didn't.
It introduces you to a whole lot of people, but you don't know for what.
But, the issue is I really bought into it, but the whole, the match itself, it's almost like I couldn't take it serious. It was very, very disappointing for me.
Hey, was that worse than the Bray Orton
House
of Horrors match?
No.
To me,
no. Nothing gets worse than that one.
to me, honestly, they're both equally bad.
Well, I just want to know why Bray continually gets put in these horrible gimmick matches.
Well, now the whole idea is now he's going to be cleansed or what have you, and he'll be this whole new. Yeah, that's been confirmed by Dave Meltzer, and once Dave Meltzer says it's going to happen, so it's been confirmed by him that.
I was saying, if Meltzer says it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Right. So there's been some sort of changing character coming for Bray Wyatt. So maybe we'll get the American Badass Bray Wyatt. But go ahead.
Oh, that reminds me of something. I got to go back to that in a second.
Yeah,
no, they missed the boat with never fleshing out Sister Abigail.
Yes,
I'm sorry. That was there for the taking.
Yes, it
was. They even had people thought of to be Sister Abigail, and they never did anything, they missed the boat.
You talk about this women's revolution. And by the way, that whole empowered thing, I'm not sure if you guys watch that on the WWE network. It's actually fantastic. It's pretty awesome. It's awesome. Anthony, you should check that out if you have WWE network. Check it out. But to consider that influx of talent that you have within the women's division, and just like you were just saying, Dan, the fact that you couldn't find one female to make Sister Abigail, this is the roster. You had the opportunity to make that. You could have killed it with that.
Yep.
Yeah, they definitely dropped the ball on that.
They found a female to work Insanity and pull that off, but they couldn't find a Sister Abigail.
And beautifully, might I add, the whole Insanity thing.
That
would work.
That's my point. Yeah. That's my point. That works perfectly, but you couldn't find anybody to pull off Sister Abigail. They missed the boat.
Right.
Paige. I would love to see Paige do it right now. Especially
Paige isn't doing it. Paige is in a Daniel Bryan situation at the moment.
Is she a manager now or no?
I was at that event when she got injured. By the way, she was very nice to me at the hotel.
Somebody else got hurt too. You're like a plague at a live event.
I was gonna say Mike can't go to WWE events anymore.
Why are you guys talking about that for? Shut
up. No, Anthony, you brought this up last week. You were saying about how we need to bring managers back. Yes. Paige is just kind of there, and you don't see managers anymore because Vince apparently hates managers.
Yes, he does.
Really?
Yeah, no, he does.
So that's why you don't see managers. Vince hates them.
Yep.
I did not know that. Wow.
So,
Anthony, I hear you. So I hear you.
Paige is basically there because she's on contract and they already had her in there, but she doesn't do anything because she can't.
I'd love to see another Alpha with the Usos. Alpha.
There's too many. There's too many of those. I'm having a problem keeping up with all those to begin with. You can't be throwing more at me. Stop.
Alpha was the original. Alpha and Sika.
No, I know that, but I'm saying you start throwing more generations and more people, and I'm gonna get real lost.
But real quick though, because I brought up the American Badass version of Rusev, and you said you had a point that you had to make about that.
Yes. Why are people clamoring for this Undertaker return to be the American Badass version?
Well, I think. Listen. This isn't to say that I'm down with the idea, but I think it makes sense in two different ways. I think you did this whole poetic thing about him laying his gear down in the ring, and it stayed there even when they were taking down the roller coaster. It was still no, Anthony. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just saying this is what people have been saying. The fact that the ring gear stayed there, even when they were taking down, everything, when they were. As they're sweeping up confetti, his gloves and his jacket still stayed there. It's all fantastic. I think that, and then I think the fact that all of a sudden, and again, I think this is stupid. This is like Kennedy assassination conspiracy sort of thing. But the fact that Kid Rock is being inducted this year also, and he does the American Badass, that must naturally mean that Undertaker will come back and badass. I think
I think the three of us can agree, and I'm sure if you polled it, people would probably go with this too. I'd much rather you go way back.
Yes.
And give me
The
purple gloves. All right, there's no gloves.
No
there's
purple.
no
No purple. Gray gloves.
Yes, I want the original purple, man.
You know, you could pull it off because Brother Love introduced The Undertaker, not Paul Bearer. You could.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
I was going to say, nobody's going to buy Brother Love.
I hear you, Anthony. I would be just as excited as you are, Anthony, but I don't see that happening.
Bring back the funeral parlor.
Anthony, you want everything. Anthony wants everything from 1988 and further back.
I was going to say, Anthony wants Michaels and Jannetty to come back and go through the barber shop again.
Yeah, do it again. Do it one more time.
I say, you guys are 60 now, but just go through it one more time.
Do it in HD. Do it one more time.
All right. We
That was the
brought
best
up
era, though. You can't. I mean, that was the best era of wrestling for me. The earthquake.
Here, let's wrap this up with Ronda, because I think there's a lot we can flesh out with Ronda. And I know you brought her up before a little bit, talking about how basically she's basically working dark segments right now because she's training on the fly. And, you know, how much buildup can you really do with Steph and Triple H for weeks here in between? If anything, I think they went too early with it. Like, you could have started it at Rumble, but went and then done it later or slow fused that longer. Now it's like it hit the crescendo and you don't know what to do till you get there.
You probably, I'll agree I'll agree on a couple things, and then Anthony, and then I'll let you take over. You probably could have slow fused it. I will agree on that. You probably could have taken longer to kind of draw this whole thing out.
Then what were you going to do with Ronda the whole time when you're dragging it out? What's her purpose?
Well, that's what your point is to talk about, Anthony, and I'll get to you in a moment.
Slow down there, killer.
I think he could have done a slow burn. I think he could have. I think it would have probably. But to me, the whole thing is this, and this will kind of bleed into Anthony's point about saying, what would you do with Ronda? So, like, let's say you don't know what to do with Ronda because she's training on the fly, and you don't have a lot to do with her besides her coming out and pointing at the WrestleMania sign. You could have spent more time building up the whole Triple H and Kurt Angle dynamic. I get it that Ronda Rousey's the big draw here, but that's the whole point. And the case in fact is that Ronda Rousey will stand on her own because she is a big draw just based on name alone. You could beef up that match so much more by re-emphasizing perhaps that whole love triangle with Stephanie and Triple H and Kurt. You can bring that to the surface. You can elevate that to the point where, Dan, like you were saying earlier, that could potentially be a match to end the night. If you have that kind of storyline, if you integrate that into it, make it more real life, then yeah. But I do think that you are right that they did pull the trigger quick on making this match a official match. But Anthony, what were your
Hey, real quick, Anthony, before you go, what Mike basically said there in a nutshell was WWE Creative messed up again. Go ahead.
Not shocked. If it wasn't for, I guess, Triple H and Ronda Rousey, I would have zero interest in this match.
Well, if you took them out, you would have Kurt Angle versus Stephanie McMahon, which would be kind of weird.
That would be interesting, though.
I don't care about Stephanie being in the ring. I was never a Kurt Angle fan. I think it was overrated. I know Mike feels differently.
Whoa, hey there.
Easy.
Overrated
Slow down.
Kurt Angle?
Yeah.
Put out the fire.
Absolutely.
Where's 911?
I'm not a Kurt Angle guy.
911.
Wow, I hope he milk trucks you, man.
Anthony fell down. He can't get up.
Well,
Anthony. It is.
Well, Anthony is still the guy who sits on the cliff and says that Triple H needs to be on the Mount Rushmore of WWE.
He
so
absolutely does, but that's another,
another
conversation for another show, I guess. But yeah, I guess what I want to see out of this match or a build-up, I need to see more out of Ronda Rousey because I'm not impressed right now, and I know she's new and she's learning on the go,
right.
But. My gut tells me she's going to need a mouthpiece.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think everybody is kind of, assume that at some point she insinuated ever before she was a WWE superstar that she was a Heyman girl. And with Brock leaving,
Right.
everybody puts that piece together that Heyman and her will at some point connect.
Right.
You can't have another Asuka situation where they're just.
Here's my thing, though.
On the mic.
My problem isn't.
And Asuka has an excuse.
No, my problem isn't so much her on the mic right now. It's her demeanor. Like Ronda, I need to see.
That's kind of where I wanted to go.
I need to see Ronda in the octagon, not Ronda the happy and excited to be here.
Dan, I was just gonna say, I was gonna bring up your exact point, and the perfect example is if you watch that Empowered special that's on the WWE Network. They give you all the build up throughout the Royal Rumble and so on and so forth, but then they show you when Triple H is walking Ronda Rousey out of the bus and then into the arena and into gorilla position. And the way that she's walking from the bus to gorilla position is exactly what it looks like during those UFC fights. Just straight faced, no peripheral vision whatsoever, looking straight ahead, hooded sweatshirt on. You need that kind of Ronda Rousey. I agree 110%.
I was saying, Mike, tell me this right now.
Yeah.
That night at Royal Rumble, if she had, right, and I get that she comes out in the Piper thing and she's got,
and it's wonderful. Right.
And everybody loves it. But if she had come out
the entrance
with
music
what
sucks.
all right, whatever. If she had come out with how she walked into gorilla position, the hood on, that face, that's how she comes out. She gives the stare down, exactly how it went down. But with that face, it goes off way better.
Well,
and I was in the building that night. I know the reaction she got when she came out. I still say if she came down like that and not the I'm happy to be here, wow, look at me, I'm in WWE, it goes off way better.
Yes, that's why it doesn't work with her and Kurt Angle.
Well, it doesn't work with her and Kurt Angle because that's a forced thing. It should be her and Rock, and they can't get Rock out of Hollywood.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think that when you're talking about the USA Todays and the ESPNs and the Good Morning Americas and everybody else taking listen, I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. But I'm saying that you want her looking all smiling and pointing at the sign.
No, I got you. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Point the sign, smile. That's what.
But I wanted to bring something up real quick because you brought it up and I completely forgot. This whole ESPN thing, I'm so tired of it. Okay, we're gonna get ESPN here in a few weeks with WrestleMania, and the whole day Sunday we're gonna have interviews and blah blah blah. Daniel Bryan was trending all over the place on Tuesday with his return. Was there a single mention of it on ESPN? Who covers WWE?
I don't know. I don't watch ESPN.
Yeah.
No. There wasn't. Not even on the stinking website. Stop.
All right.
Garbage.
All right. So in conclusion, before we send it off the show, and as I pour my last glass of Jameson. By the way, Anthony, as we do on the FF Face-Off podcast, official, super unofficial sponsor is Jameson Select Reserve. That's your battle bottle of Jameson, Black Label.
I was going to say, do they at least throw a quarter our way or something? Jeez.
No, they do not. We just hope that they will one day. But anyway.
That's what happens when they're unofficial.
With all that being said, we've basically, in a way, we've pickpocketed a lot of these matches here. Talked about, these top matches. I have a two-part question here. And then I'll let both of you guys go. A, in conclusion, what match do you think should definitely close the show, given that we just decided to just land-based all these matches? And B, would you give any consideration? And I mentioned this to Anthony. He already said no, so I'm directing this to you, Dan. And you're going to shoot me down too, I think, but I'm going to pitch it to you anyway. Listen, given the whole women movement, the whole empowered bit, which is fantastic, I think it's cool. The whole Money in the Bank, Hell in a Cell, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, all this stuff. Do you think there's any situation in which they will put Asuka last with Charlotte? Do you think there's any possibility of that happening whatsoever?
Okay. No, there's no chance because they have unofficially said that next year's WrestleMania is going to be the first ever WrestleMania with a woman headlining because it's going to be New Jersey, New York. They have all the media attention, and Ronda's going to be in that main event.
See,
so
that's what I said on the. I'm sorry, but and then I'll let you go. But that's what I said on the previous episode. I said to Anthony, and then you can also answer this. Is I said, what if you have a situation in which Asuka still remains undefeated, and then you have Ronda Rousey remain undefeated for the whole year? You have two undefeated versus undefeated WrestleMania. That's the way you get them both in the same ring. But
I think that's
didn't I say that to one of you too? We talked about.
Well, I
this.
said to you.
Well, that
maybe
I think
somebody said it.
I think that's the plan, because obviously, if Asuka wins, which I expect she will, she's now the SmackDown Women's Champion.
Right.
Ronda's on Raw, so you can separate them.
Exactly.
And the plan at this moment, and obviously we're a year away, things can drastically change, but the plan is to have Ronda and Asuka headline next year's WrestleMania. So it would make all the sense in the world to navigate that to be this head-on collision with no speed bumps. But to answer the other part of your question, like I said earlier, Styles Nakamura is the match that needs the headline. Yep. It's the most logical thing. You can try and make an argument for any other match, whether it be, Daniel Bryan's return, Cena, Undertaker, Reigns and Brock, whatever. But it's just the logical thing. And Anthony, I'll let you answer this too, but I want to toss in one other thing since we were talking about Ronda and we didn't get to it. The thing that they're trying to do here with this Ronda and Steph angle, which hasn't had the build-up yet, is, and Anthony, I think I've brought this up to you, is they want this to be a parallel of the Austin McMahon feud of the 90s and early 2000s. And I said that there's just no way that this can even come close because it's a different era. And Steph doesn't have the appeal that Vince does. And I don't think Ronda can carry a storyline like Austin can. No. So I just don't see how they think they're going to get anywhere close to that.
I agree. It's not the same. It can't. I don't think it could pull it off.
First of all, I just don't see Ronda coming up on a beer truck. And I don't even think you can do that with stockbrokers now.
Well, I think you take a different. This isn't to say that I think that's what they're doing or that's what can be done. But I mean, I think it's just all right. That's just like saying, well, we want to make Hulk Hogan the face of the company, so the next guy who's going to be the face of the company has to rip off the yellow T-shirt. I mean, I don't think that Ronda Rousey would have to come in on a beer truck and ultimately to be that figure, so to speak. I think it could work. I don't think that they would do it. I don't think it would happen, but I don't think it would. Basically, all right, I'll put it this way. I don't think that it would translate the way they want to, because I don't think that they would make the correct decisions to make it work the way they want to, because they can't push that. And this is the whole idea with doing that storyline, is you can't push that envelope like you could during that Attitude Era.
Absolutely.
That's the whole, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. If that's their boat, then they will swim in it like they have been with PG Era. That's fine.
Hey, Mike, you brought up Hogan. I know the Dudleys wanted Edge and Christian to induct them, and I think that got confirmed now that that's going to happen. Yeah. Hillbilly Jim wants Hulk Hogan to induct him. Hillbilly Jim's got no chance in hell of that happening.
Well, I've heard rumors.
I've heard those.
Oh, what? Wait, hold on. They're suddenly going to change? After we had this whole thing with the Fabulous Moolah having to be taken off because Snickers was like, hey, no. People called us and we know what happened. That can't fly.
I'm just saying. I heard rumors that they're talking to Hogan.
Yep.
Fabulous Moolah couldn't happen, but we're going to let Hogan in there with what happened.
Well, listen, WrestleMania doesn't happen without Hulk Hogan. I'm just saying.
Hey, listen, I got no problem with Hogan coming back.
I hate Hogan, but whatever.
Stop. How do you hate Hogan?
Hold on. As bad as Anthony is on Kurt Angle, you hate Hulk Hogan?
If he comes back NWO Hogan, I love him.
You can't even put Kurt Angle and Hulk Hogan in the same breath. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I'm just using it as a comparison. You can't hate on Kurt Angle and you can't hate on Hulk Hogan.
All Kurt Angle is Hacksaw Jim Duggan reincarnated.
Wow. That's horrible.
Easy.
Horrible.
Easy.
Bring back Hogan. Bring back Hogan. Hashtag bring him back.
Yeah, I just hate. Well, listen, I'm one of those guys who prefers the heel, so that's why. I don't like the goody two shoes. Yeah, so that's my sentiment on Hogan. I understand what he did for the brand, but there you go. So
bring him back.
But in closing, yeah.
All right, so that's it for our, I guess, our first edition of Heel Talk Radio, presented by ProWrestlingNews.com. I'll say the new faction here,
Wrestling News Pro.
Wrestling News Pro. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. Still getting used to it.
Well, same. We're working out the kinks.
Yeah, I'll say I'm still getting used to it. I would say the 3-man faction now. Evolution's already taken. We got to come up with something.
We'll figure it
out.
Something more masculine than the Three Amigos.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and somewhere between 3 Amigos and 3MB.
Right.
Somewhere right in the middle there.
And who knows? We may have a fourth man if you know.
I'll say
if they ever buy a laptop and a microphone and all the other.
You never know. Can't put it out of the realm of possibility. But for now, for Anthony Servino, for Michael Hoff, I am Dan Siegel. That was Heel Talk Radio, and we'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.